Hello and welcome back to another episode of Hidden Video Game Details, the series that aims to show you things that you may not have known about your favourite games so that you can look really clever in front of your friends. In today's episode, we prove that love truly is blind in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, we ruin a massive cake in Hitman 3, and we find even more hidden dialogue in Ratchet and Clank. As always, if you think you know of any details that I'm yet to cover, then the best places to let me know are in the comments section or on my social media accounts. The links, as always, are in the description. Oh, and leaving a like on any of my videos always makes me that little bit happier. Anyway, without further delay, let's get started. So let's once again begin with Ratchet and Clank. Over the last couple of episodes of this series, we've discovered some pretty cool examples of hidden dialogue in Sony's 2016 platformer, with most of them being found by you guys, so be sure to give yourselves a pat on the back. Now, in episode 36, we discovered that when approaching this golden statue of Captain Quark, that Quark would say this.
Our heroes paused and gazed upon the mighty statue of me.
Well, if you head to the Koan train station, you can once again find a statue of Quark, causing him to say this.
Ratchet stood and appreciated the tribute to greatness, which really shouldn't be hidden away in a corner like this.
So after reading through all your suggestions, I'm pretty certain that is the last hidden dialogue found in Ratchet and Clank. But I'm also fully expecting you guys to prove me wrong and tell me that I have in fact missed one. Speaking of hidden dialogue, next up is Hitman 3. Now, regular viewers will know that the Hitman series is no stranger to hidden dialogue. For example, did you know that if you grab an enemy from behind but never fully choke them out, they will try to speak to Agent 47?
Did you get those shoes at the outlet store down the block? I hear they have a wonderful selection. Maybe we could pick this up later?
Well, today's example of hidden dialogue in Hitman isn't as funny, but I'll be surprised if a lot of you have heard it before. During the last Yardbird sniper mission, you can do this.
Shooting cakes now, 47? Didn't see that one coming, 47. Making a bit of a mess there, 47.
So shooting the cake will cause your handler Diana to pass judgment on your cake wrecking abilities. Up next is perhaps one of the only games that can give Red Dead Redemption 2 and GTA 5 a run for their money when it comes to details. Now, of course, I'm not saying that The Last of Us 2 is a better game than those two games, but in terms of details, it isn't far off. The first The Last of Us 2 detail for today's video can be seen when looking at Ellie's eyes. If you press the L2 button on your controller, the screen will zoom in on whatever you happen to be looking at. Now, what's really cool is Ellie will actually squint as if she was straining to focus on something. For example, here is how Ellie looks when not pressing L2, and here she is squinting as L2 is pressed. It's a small but really cool detail. This next detail from The Last of Us Part 2 is a great example of how you can make enemies appear more threatening in a video game. If you run out of ammo and foolishly pull the trigger after doing so, the enemies will soon notice.
Get him! Get down! Where's that ammo? She's out! Take her!
There, she's out!
So the enemies will call out the fact that Ellie has run out of ammo and will attempt to rush her position. But that's not the only time that enemies notice your lack of resources. If you grab an enemy from behind, you can usually hold on to them for a pretty long time whilst you decide what to do with them. Well, if you grab an enemy from behind with an empty gun and then attempt to pull the trigger, this will happen.
Shh, quiet. Can't stem the tide.
So the enemy realises that your gun is empty and will attempt to break free. It's really cool. Next up is more Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. In episode 36, we discovered that when playing the Test of Sight minigame, Kenshi would have to use his ears to win the game, as he is of course blind. But it turns out that being blind in the Mortal Kombat universe may not be such a bad thing. Sonya Blade has a special move called the Kiss of Death, which blows a pink powder into her opponent's eyes, temporarily blinding them. Well, let's see what happens if she tries to blow the powder at Kenshi. So given the fact that he is blind, Kenshi is immune to the Kiss of Death, which once again is really cool. Oh, and one more thing. This is what Kenshi's fatality looks like in Deadly Alliance.
Finish him! Fatality.
So he pops the eyeballs of his enemies out of their skulls before practicing his origami skills on their body. But what happens if we try this fatality on Kenshi himself?
Finish him! Fatality.
So Kenshi has no eyes to pop, which could be seen as pretty lucky, even though he will soon be turned into a paper aeroplane. As I said, I'm starting to think that being blind in Mortal Kombat really isn't such a bad thing after all. So to end today's video, let's take another look at the excellent Days Gone. The first detail from Days Gone is a personal favourite of mine in video games. If you shine your torch at a freaker, they will do this. So the freakers will cover their faces as they are sensitive to light. This could prove to be pretty useful, as it does slow them down, allowing you to put some distance between you and the freakers. The covering your face from a torch detail seems to be a favourite of Sony's first-party studios, with the detail also featuring in Uncharted 4 and The Last of Us. So the name Days Gone is referring to the days it's been since the outbreak that caused the world to go to sh*. You can even check how many days have gone in the pause menu. So we can see that at this point in the game, it's been 735 days since the outbreak. However, if you pause the game during a flashback that occurred before the outbreak, the pause screen will show 0 days gone. It's a pretty subtle detail that I'm hoping you guys didn't notice. Now, product placements can sometimes feel really forced. I mean, who remembers the Xbox 360 that came to life in Transformers? Well, sometimes product placement does just make sense. The attractor in Days Gone is a device that plays a loud sound to, well, attract enemies. Well, if you take a closer look at the attractor, we can see that it is in fact a Sony Walkman. As I said, I don't mind this kind of product placement, as it does make sense. I mean, the alternative may have been Deacon carrying a PS3 and a copy of Modern Warfare 2 that he would need to set up in the hopes of challenging someone to a 1v1 on Rust, which, come to think of it, actually sounds pretty cool. So the final detail for today's video can be seen when using a suppressor. In a post-apocalyptic world, you often have to make do with what you have, and that often means using everyday items in a way they were not meant to be used. Take the suppressor for example, which is basically a can screwed to the end of your gun. Now, I don't know about where you're from, but the cans where I'm from don't come with pre-drilled holes for bullets to pass through, and neither do the cans in Days Gone. So, of course, when applying the suppressor to a gun, there will be no hole in it as you are yet to fire a shot. However, after firing a shot, a hole will have appeared. It's a really cool detail. So that's it. If you enjoyed this video, then a like is really appreciated. Remember, if you are a fan of Easter egg secrets and tiny details in games, then perhaps consider subscribing, as that's what this channel is all about. A big thank you all for watching, and I'll speak to you all soon.